Artist-in-residence programs allow visiting artists to stay and work in a focused way for an extended period of time. The Petrified Forest National Park is one of many parks that offers an artist-in-residence program. In 2010, I was accepted there to be an artist-in-residence. I was thrilled at this prospect because the park offered a variety of ways for me to interpret the scenery and landscape that is there within the context of combining several different art mediums. Fellow artist and good friend of mine, Donna Barnitz, was also accepted that year and coincidentally chose the same time as I did for her stay. Named for its large deposits of petrified wood, the park covers about 146 square miles and contains semi-desert shrub grassland plains without trees, as well as highly eroded and colorful badlands. These are the casitas that the artists normally stay at, but due to an unexpected water problem, we ended staying in staff housing located at the visitor center. This sunset became inspiration for a mixed media piece. Donna gave me a piece of her rust-treated fabric, and I put some inkjet coating on it so that I was able to print it on my inkjet printer. So here you see the fabric and the image printed onto the fabric, and you'll see me here working on the art piece, and here comes the almost completed piece. Here you see how I plan out some of my work in a journal style sketchbook. In this manner, I'm able to work out some ideas and keep myself on track without getting distracted. This image is actually of a restroom building in the park. It reminded me of a kachina face, which I played around with the interpretation in photo software. Here is one of many colorful hand-dyed fabric pieces of Donna's. It was very convenient for her to lay the wet fabric across the weeds in order to hasten the drying process. This is a photo of petrified wood, which I then printed on a piece of Japanese paper and mounted it to some cradle board, and from there I turned it into yet another mixed media piece. This is the finished product. I was also fascinated with the grasses that grew on the plains there and experimented with printing that on some handmade papers. So here you see some of that experimentation and some of the final stages of that experimentation. And these are all the pieces of work in progress that I had while I was there. One piece ended up turning into this, which was completely different from what it started from. But that's how it goes. The petrified wood is extremely colorful, such as this piece, and again I turned that into another mixed media piece and printed that on some Japanese paper. But as you can see, the colors are so rich and fascinating, and I am totally enthralled with it. This is a silkscreen stencil that Donna had done from one of the petroglyph images there at the park, and she had run a series of fabric with the image on it and gave me a piece, which was this one, and I turned that into another mixed media piece, which is on a 16 by 20 cradle board. So this is the final result of that collaboration. During the late Triassic period, downed trees accumulating in river channels in what became the park were buried periodically by sediment containing volcanic ash. Groundwater dissolved silica, which is silicon dioxide, from the ash and carried it into the logs, where it formed quartz crystals that gradually replaced the organic matter. Traces of iron oxide and other substances combined with the silica to create varied colors in the petrified wood. And all of this that I just narrated to you is directly from the Wikipedia site, so you can also go there to get even more detailed information about the petrified forest. As you can see, these logs are huge, so if you can imagine what this forest of trees look like during that time frame, it just boggles the mind. These are bigger than your living room coffee tables, so just to get a sense of scale, I wish I had a human being in the picture, but I think you can tell that they are very, very large. Here you see my to-do list to keep myself on track, and while we were there we did demos at the park. Each week we were there. I hand-carved a stamp of one of the petroglyphs, and our first week we demoed at the visitor center, which you see here. And in this image you see Donna speaking to one of the visitors about her work, and I'm telling some other visitors that were passing through about what I was demonstrating, which was some printmaking techniques, and I actually enticed someone to participate in some printmaking techniques. Of course, we had to document ourselves with the publicity flyers that were posted over at the visitor center. In the second week of our residency, we did our art demonstrations over at the Painted Desert Inn. We actually had several visitors stay long enough to sit down and really play with the medium. They both had a great time doing that. This young man was fascinated with Donna's fiber art demonstration, where she was showing a technique she uses in order to get some very delicate images into her artwork. The mountain lion petroglyph is very much so an iconic image to the park. A bulldozer blade unearthed it during the road construction for the Blue Mesa area. Here I am photographing petroglyphs in the wilderness area. As you can see, we had to scale some very large boulders. But the hike and the climbing is worthwhile when you're able to get great images that you can use later on in your artwork. Between the petroglyphs, the monumental petrified trees, and the incredible vistas and vast amount of space, we found that 2 weeks was not enough. Donna and I took a hike down into the Painted Desert Wilderness area and came across some beautiful geology, including this huge boulder that was covered in petroglyphs, which are done on rock that's called desert varnish, such as this rock here. That's not a petroglyph, that is what desert varnish looks like. I'm also amazed at how little plants can defy all odds coming out of hard rock like this. Here you see the beautiful iron oxide and how it makes a nice contrast against the blue skies. It's funny, both Donna and I thought we would lose weight on this trip because we were going to be so good, but we ended up combining groceries and sharing our meals together every day, and we made some spectacular dishes from our eclectic collection of foods that we had both brought. And we had some spectacular meals. Like I said, this is some biscuits with green chili in it, and a quiche that I had made from Hubbard squash. And I ended up writing down what we had for each meal because it would have been too difficult to recall later on. And it was so unique. So that was a lot of fun to be able to do that. The park has a lot of ravens in it, and they love to strike a pose for you. This one is over at Blue Mesa, and I got to take quite a few pictures of him. I am happy and honored that I had a chance to be an artist in residence at the Petrified Forest National Park. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat, and I do hope I do get that chance to do it again. You can see more of my work at my website, my blogs, my Flickr photo stream, and my YouTube channel.